Hey folks, how's it going? Heir of Carthage here. I'm actually just on lunch break from work, and I'm glad you all enjoyed the QA video I put up. Also, looks like a lot of you were happy to see my Empire Total War video, and there'll be more of those soon. I want to take this opportunity to set the record straight on a few things, though. I hated the fact that someone asked me a political question, because I knew that the answers that I give would be misinterpreted by many, and indeed that's the case. Several of you are upset with the stuff that I put down, and at the same time, it doesn't surprise me, because it happens to me all the time. Let me start off by saying a lot of you asked, are you Republican or are you Democrat? And I kind of answered that question, I kind of didn't. First of all, I'm neither. What I believe in is not a party. What I believe in is the United States Constitution. And for those of you who may not be from the United States, you may not understand entirely what that entails. You may have read about it, you may not have. And so let me go ahead and take this opportunity to tell you, you non-US citizens at this point, that the way you operate your country is completely respected by me. Let's just say, for instance, like I know Nubgus. Nubgus is one of my favorite guys on YouTube, and I believe he's from Sweden, and he didn't seem to understand my political thought there either. So like Sweden, for instance, I understand from what I've seen that it's a very clean, very well-run country, and they have a strong economy, and I have a lot of respect for Sweden, and I wouldn't ask them to change the way they do things. However, Sweden, and this is just an example. Well, there's a lot of countries out there, and I'm not picking on Sweden by any means. Like I said, I like Sweden. Sweden is not the United States. Australia is not the United States. Canada is not the United States. All those countries are different than us. We're similar in some ways in the way we approach things, but we also have different demographics, different backgrounds, different histories, different needs, different population sizes. And there's a lot to it, so I don't expect every country to run the same. So when I tell you how I like things, the way I like things and the way I think our government should be run doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way I think that everyone else's should either. So just real quick, that cat, of course, is going to get in my lap. Here's what I think about all this. So let me set the record straight here on a few of the comments I made. I'm actually pulling up the screen now. I just got home from lunch. I'm going to make this real quick, and I don't want to make a habit out of getting into a political discussion, because this is always what happens. But I did want to set the record straight on this stuff. Let me go over to the video and explain some of the comments that I made so that you all understand what it is that I was trying to say, because the comments that I immediately saw completely mistook what it is that I'm asking for. So let me explain this here. America's Constitution. And despite what people want to argue, the facts are clear, very clear on America's Constitution, because it's well documented. The purpose that our founders had in creating the Constitution was to prevent a tyrannical, overpowerful, centralized government. So the states had their own governments at the time that it came about, but there was no regulation in between the states, and they were having issues with commerce and defense and other items between the states. So the whole idea of the Constitution was to create a federal government with just enough power to bind these states together and to help regulate commerce and provide for a common defense and other very specific powers, while not giving the federal government enough power to become tyrannical. Because you have to remember that a lot of the people who came to America came from countries with monarchies and other things, and they were tired of the tyranny that went on in their country. They wanted the freedom, and they were sick of a federal government or a centralized government running everything all the way down to the local level. So whenever they started things off, the states couldn't really unify on any opinions, so they passed the Articles of Confederation. It was too loose, it didn't work, it wasn't powerful enough, and then they of course passed the United States Constitution. It was ratified. I believe in that Constitution, the way that it's written, and I'll also in the amendments that have been passed since then, because those amendments have been passed in the way that's set apart by the Constitution. Now, that said, that Constitution in and of itself guarantees the equality of all of its citizens. Now, some of you might say, well, Heir, in the past you had slavery and stuff like that. Yes, we did, and it was a mistake, and since then that has been corrected. So, as far as one of the comments, I believe that someone said that they disagree with me because they said you have to have a governing body to regulate equality. You do. And the federal government, all it needs to do to regulate the equality is we have our civil rights laws, and we have the Constitution. If they'll just enforce those, that regulates equality. It doesn't mean that you have to take money from one class of people and give it to another. That's where I think that's fundamentally incorrect. That means that the government is condoning theft and giving it to someone else. Now, some of you may say, well, Heir, a lot of people are born rich and some people are born poor. Well, what about the poor people? It's not fair for them because they're born poor. And the rich people are just going to continue to be rich because they inherit that money. That's true. That kind of stuff does happen. And that is why I don't believe in a pure capitalism. That's why I agree with the limited type government that was set up by our founding fathers, where there's a very limited regulation that the government plays. The government should be doing the absolute minimum necessary in order to regulate that free market. That way, the small flaws that exist in capitalism will be regulated by the government, and it can still be as free as possible, because free is the key. Now, some people think that in order for people to be successful, the government has to provide you with like incentives and all this other stuff. Well, it doesn't. Let me give you a perfect example here. I knew a guy from Colombia a number of years ago, and he immigrated to America, and he came here with nothing but the clothes on his back. And he came to this country. He got his green card, and he came here. And like I said, that's all he had was the clothes on his back. And he slept on the street for the first couple of days while he was asking around trying to find a job. He found a job with a landscaping company, and it was his job every day to wake up early in the morning, go out in the hot sun in Arizona, pull weeds, mow lawns, weed eat, put in rock gardens for people. That was his job. And he probably made pretty low pay, I would imagine. This was the 1970s when he would have been doing this. And it probably wasn't pleasant. But he saved his money because, again, this is an equal opportunity country by our law, as long as that law is being enforced. And even though he came from Colombia, he came to America, he was given his citizenship, he worked, he saved his money. And because in America you don't have to be a white person or a certain ethnicity or certain religion to open your own business, he then saved his money. He bought his own lawnmowers, he bought his own equipment, and he opened his own business. And by the time I met this guy later in the future, he was a millionaire. He came to America with nothing, absolutely nothing, and he was not rich in Colombia either. And he was a millionaire by the time I met him. That is my idea of justice. Now, social justice. Do I believe in people having equal rights? Absolutely. I don't know where people would get the idea that I don't believe in people having equal rights. Social justice, when I say it, it means something probably different to me than it does to you. What I call social justice, in my opinion, is the unjust idea that you have to take money from people who earn it and give it to people who did not in order to make things fair. Now that's what I disagree with. And some of you might be saying, well, Heir, you must disagree with welfare. Absolutely not. I don't disagree with welfare, not in the least bit. Well, Heir, you must not want people to be able to get free health care when they're poor. That's bullcrap. I absolutely believe they should be able to get free health care. So I don't know where you all got this idea is that because I say these things, that I somehow don't have any feeling for people who are poor or underprivileged or anything like that. I mean, absolutely not. I absolutely believe in being kind and providing welfare to people. So don't mistake me here. What I believe, though, is in the maximum amount of individual responsibility. The government interaction should be minimized and only done when necessary. So my idea of justice in society is that we have a government that where when someone does come upon a hard time, that yes, there is a government program there that can help them with the basics. We can get you some food. We can give you a little bit of money to help with rent while you're looking for a job and stuff like that. The problem is I live around a lot of people who get welfare money that comes out of my tax-paying earnings, and they use it for drugs and controlled prescriptions that they shouldn't have, and their kids go around in raggedy clothes and other stuff like that because they spend the money on themselves. It's called abuse, and I don't like that. I'm all for giving people help, and I'm more than happy. I believe in God, and even if you don't believe in God, the world has been good to me, or in my sense, I believe God's been good to me, and I'm more than happy to share my wealth with other people willingly. What I don't like is the idea that the government thinks they need to force people to do so. I think that's where it's wrong. However, that said, like I said, I do believe in some limited government programs for welfare, education, and healthcare. Now, the comments that I made about education, getting rid of the Department of Education, I don't know if you all understand the U.S. Department of Education. It doesn't actually educate anybody. It's just a bureaucratic department that regulates. if you look at the enumerated powers given in the Constitution, and the enumerated powers were specific powers granted to the federal government, and it specifically says that any power not granted there remains with the states, and education was not granted to the federal government. Thus, the Department of Education in and of itself is unconstitutional, and it's a waste of money. If you want to regulate education, it should be done at the state level, where the Constitution left that power. If you want to provide health care to your citizens, it should be done at the state level, where the Constitution left that power. So, for those of you who want to understand my political thoughts, that's where I'm coming from. I don't have problems with some of these social programs. I just want them to be done in the right way and in the legal way. And social programs are best run on a more local level anyway, because the localities know what their needs are. That is why Sweden is better at running Sweden's social programs than America would be. The same thing as from Washington, D.C., it's impossible for them to know what is needed in Rogers, Arkansas, because they don't live here. And so that's one of those things where they need to leave that stuff to the state and local governments and in the people's hand where it belongs, rather than everything being forced through the central government. I believe the central government should only perform those 17 enumerated powers, and only those powers. And those include some simple things like defense and common regulation of commerce and stuff like that, printing a currency. Outside of that, our federal government has stepped way outside of its bounds. So I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not a Ron Paul supporter. I'm not any of those other things. I believe in the Constitution, the way that it was written and the way that it's been amended since then. If Americans don't like that Constitution, what they need to do is amend it, just like it was in the past, and change it to the way they think it needs to be. So, essentially, what I'm trying to say is I believe in doing things the legal and set-apart way that we have in the past. So, I hope this clarifies things. If you are a family on welfare, or if your families receive welfare, I have nothing against you. Absolutely nothing. And for you all to think that because of what I said I must not like social programs, you must be crazy. Because I got Pell Grants to help me through school. I wouldn't have had enough money to go to college had it not been for Pell Grants. I didn't grow up in a rich family. And I by no means was rich when I was going to school. I worked part-time and made hardly any money. So I obviously believe in social programs. I just believe in them being minimized and done in the right way rather than money being wasted. You all have to understand my mindset. I work for a large company, and it's my duty to save money so that we can pass that savings on to our customer. The government doesn't think that way, and that's what frustrates me. Our government likes to spend money because, whose money, and it doesn't matter, it just comes from everybody. We can spend it however we want. That money belongs to a citizen, whether it's me or the guy next door or you. If someone's paid taxes, then the government's using your money, and they need to be responsible with that money, and they need to make sure that they use it in a way that is legal and necessary. Otherwise, they're wasting your money. So I'm a big fan of getting rid of government waste. I hope this clarifies things. Again, I don't look down on anybody for their political belief. I afford you the right to believe whatever you want, and I will not criticize you, I will not call you stupid, and I will not run you down for what you believe politically. However, at the same point, I hope you understand where I'm coming from on my political beliefs now. I'm not an evil guy. I'm not a big corporate guy. I don't hate welfare. I don't want kids to die without health care, so I don't want you all to be taking that weird response to my beliefs like it typically happens. And I understand that because there are people out there who do have a mindset like that. I don't understand why, but they do. So in any case, I hope that clarifies things. Nubgus, I hope we're good. You're my pal, man, and I don't want you to be upset at me. And some of the other people who made comments, I hope you understand what it is that I'm getting at here. And again, America is not, the same as the other countries in the world. And I do not, like say, for instance, Australia, they have their own free healthcare system. I don't know what they call it, a public healthcare system, and it works well for them. Good for them. Same thing with Canada. Good for Canada. It's just that there's some things like that that wouldn't work well in the States. And it doesn't mean that we can't make sure that our system is reformed and maybe we run healthcare on the state and local level. I just don't want it run on the national level because it wouldn't work right here in the States. That's the only thing I'm saying about that. So hopefully that makes sense to you all. And again, I have every bit of respect for everybody else's political beliefs, and I respect the way that your countries decide to run things, and I also respect other Americans' beliefs to disagree with me. So hope that sets the record straight. While I'm on here, let's get away from some of the boring stuff. And let me go ahead and answer a few more of your questions that got a few thumbs up, so that at least I'm doing something else on here. So RTW Freak SKE123 asked, are you ever going to play and do a walkthrough of Paradox game, Europa, Universalis, Victoria, or Hearts of Iron? No, I probably won't. Like I said, I have enough games right now, and it's just that I don't have time to do that kind of stuff. Let's see. What's my favorite movie? Answer Man of Rome asked that. It's definitely The Hunt for Red October. Let's see. What game are you looking forward to? Sierra117 asked, what game are you looking forward to most in the future? Right now, Halo 4, but that depends on if I hear something else. Someone makes a good comment here. It says, it's like Cam Bahia or whatever says, let's all agree that socialist democracy is the best way to go forward. I don't know if I agree with those words specifically, but I would agree with the fact that you definitely want a republic or democracy mixed in with some social programs in order to help those who are less fortunate. I would be willing to agree with that statement if that's what you meant. Anyway, I'll go ahead and address that statement as we go through. Let's see. I already answered. Someone asked me what I thought about Prince of Macedon. I've already answered that. Let's see. Trying to look for more questions here. Sorry I didn't get to go ahead of time. I definitely sparked off quite the political conversation, it looks like, and that definitely wasn't my idea behind all that. Again, I think you all mistook part of what I was talking about there. Let's see. Let's go to the view all comments section here. Maybe I'll be able to read it better. Sorry, this is taking just a second. Man, I'm hungry. Can't wait to eat lunch. It's been a busy day at work. I'm always busy at work. Let's see if there's anything else I got a lot of. Someone says, will you consider hosting Jeek 100? Jeak 100? Asks, will you consider hosting a Shogun 2 tournament in the future? I'm considering it, but I haven't made any decisions yet. There's a lot of other tournaments going on, so I really haven't felt the need to host one as of yet. Let's see. Well, I really seemed to set off an angry thing when I said that about the Department of Education. I don't know how the school systems work in other countries. Let me just address this real quick. The education system in America, like I said, was set up to be run by the state and local government. That's why I don't like the Department of Education. Like I said earlier, it's a federal department, and it's unconstitutional. The states have the right to regulate their education, not the federal government. That's the only reason why I said that. So in and of itself, it's unconstitutional, which in and of itself means it's a waste of money. It doesn't mean education's a waste of money. It just means that that particular department is a waste of money. Let's see. Try a tournament. I don't really see a whole lot of other questions on here at the moment that I can answer easily. I replied to some of you in words, so that should take care of a lot of it. Anyway, I think I've pretty much got it taken care of. Hopefully this video clarifies some things. Trust me, y'all don't have any need to rage at me. Politically speaking, I'm not some evil guy who wants to treat people unfairly or cut off money to people or anything like that. I want to do things right. That's all there is to it. We have a constitution here, and we need to run according to that constitution. There's a reason why that constitution was set up the way it was, and it's because it would be the best thing for our country. Our country didn't always make the best decisions in the past. We didn't always treat people right in the past. But the past is the past. You learn from those lessons, and you move on. And so that's my idea on it all. America's come a long ways. We've come a long ways as far as our equal opportunity and our responsibilities and everything, and it'll go further in the future. But every country's been down that path in the past. So there's a lot of these ideologies out there. Some people have a pure capitalist ideology. Some people have a pure socialist ideology. And the problem with all those pure ideologies is that somewhere in there's a problem. Like, say, pure capitalism, eventually someone will probably get enough money to manipulate the system. It's hard for me to explain that exactly, but then in a pure socialism, The idea is good, right? Everybody shares, right? It all works out, except for that the government that administers it will be corrupt. And so you have to choose the nice middle ground in between those things, and you don't want to go overly far in one direction. And so that's what I'm trying to say in this stuff. And when you look at the way America's set up, that's the way it was set up. It was set up to be a free market economy with government to make sure that the equal opportunity was ensured for all. So again, hopefully all this makes sense. I hate that I had to spend time on this, but I don't want you all being mad at me for something that you don't need to be mad at me about, because I really think you mistook what I was talking about. Like I said, I'm in favor of small government, low taxes, minimal interference. Does that mean that I don't like welfare? Absolutely not. Does it mean that I don't like a healthcare system? Absolutely not. It just means that I want it minimalized, and I want the control of that left as much as possible in the people's hands. Because isn't that the key to a democratic society, is leaving it in the people's hand and not putting my healthcare or my education in the hands of an oligarchy of powerful people in the government? Just food for thought there. Now, we don't have to keep the political conversation going. I did want to respond to you on this. This is why I don't typically talk about politics, and we probably shouldn't going forward. But like I said, I hope this clears things up. Anyway, I gotta eat some lunch, guys. Gotta eat some lunch. And then guess what? I'm gonna bring you some more good videos tonight. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed this, and see you later.